our community. So this morning we're asking, is Ghana gradually losing its grip on public safety? What must be done to restore trust and order? Join us on Facebook, GTV Ghana. We're live there across board on YouTube, GBC Ghana as well. My guest this morning, giving you the expert discussions and analysis from my immediate left, is Reverend Carl Nyete-Sowa. He is the acting head of communications for the National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons. Reverend Carl, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you.
Great to have you. Reverend's not here alone. Mukhtar, who's a friend of GBC, is back at this table, Executive Director of West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism. Mukhtar, good morning. Welcome back.
Good morning.
To the table.
Happy to be here.
Great to have you, gentlemen. When we think about conflict and violence, and the most recent rife ones being the Ablekuma North rerun, the conflicts, the Gbenyuri conflict, the chieftaincy, land disputes here and there, and the rapid shooting and killing of a chief, a Praga rider. You don't know if it's targeted killings and all of that. I want you to make general views on how our situation is before we look at these various incidents in isolation. I'll begin with you, Rev.
Okay, so thank you very much. Now, it is quite worrying, but we see it as a wake-up call. We shouldn't throw our hands in despair, but it's a wake-up call telling us what we need to do to safeguard the peace and security that we enjoy as a nation. You know, we are having a peaceful country that is envied all around, not just in the ECOWAS region, in Africa and worldwide. We go for international conferences and they mention Ghana, a peaceful nation. So this is to tell us that if we do not do what it takes, be it the executives, the legislature, the judiciary, we the indigents, it is a shared responsibility. If we do not do what it takes, then it may get out of hand, and then our peace, security, and freedom will slip from our hands. If it gradually slips from our hands now, it will be very expensive to restore it. Okay. And it may actually become evasive and very expensive.
Let's look at the election scenario. Guns go there, people are shot. Festivals, people are shot. What kind of weapons do they get? What kind of people wield these kind of weapons? Okay,
so first, they are Ghanaians, or they are indigents, or they are people who live in our society. And that is why the Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons, we always say that when it comes to safeguarding our security, our personal safety, it is a shared responsibility. Just as the allied security agencies have a role to play, you also have a role to play. Because those who carry these firearms are people we know. They are in our societies, they are in our communities. Some are friends or brothers or siblings. If we don't tell them the dangers or preach to them the dangers of illegally possessing these weapons and misusing them, one day it will become a problem to you, even in the household. Okay. So we know them. We need to volunteer information so that the security apparatus can also act on them. I say this because yes, the security apparatus is everywhere, but we can't be everywhere at once. I always say, I use myself as an example. As I'm speaking now, I'm here.
Right.
I can't be outside. So we need the general public to be our eyes out there. When they see something, they need to say something. They must be our ears out there. When they hear something, they must be willing to say something. And they must also be our mouthpiece, so that the messages we preach about peace, about coming together to safeguard the peace and freedom that we have, they can also volunteer that information to help us safeguard it. So if you permit me, I would want to just give a short a number or short code so that...
Absolutely, yes, go ahead.
So the commission, we have a WhatsApp number, and the reason is that we want people to feel free to send us videos if they've had, because we'll need, or audio, or even pictures, because we will need them as evidence. Because when we successfully prosecute these offenses, it becomes deterrent. Right. Because now you know that when I'm caught on camera or when I do these things, I'll be prosecuted. It is shown on TV. People know that this person, Mr. A, did this and that. He thought no one was watching, but he's been prosecuted. Now it becomes deterrent. So our WhatsApp number is 059 907 0944.
Okay.
059 907 0944.
Do you have a toll-free number as well that people can call?
we are getting a toll-free number. But we
Okay.
wanted this because of the reason that I gave you.
The evidence-based.
Yes. And
Okay.
even if you give us, please call me, we'll quickly call.
Call,
But
okay.
you can also call the Ghana Police Service
All right.
on 18555. That is toll-free.
Okay.
18555.
And definitely they share information
With us.
you.
Yes, we work together. And then the national security on 999.
I'll come to you on licensing of weapons and all of that, and if I want a gun to safeguard myself, and what parameters will I use that to operate in. But let me go to Mukhtar. Ghana's Peace Index, we dropped 6 places from 55th position, 61st globally, a stark decline from its 2024 position of 55th. In the sub-region, we've been touted as a, a hub of peace and all of that. What does this speak to you with all the work that you do?
Good morning to you and good morning to your viewers. Thank you again for having me on this. First of all, the idea or the fact that Ghana is peaceful is the single biggest national asset that we have. And we have prided ourselves in that reality throughout our history. It's the single biggest thing that, we all enjoy and are proud of. Like my brother mentioned, when you move out of this space especially, people give you, the respect and the honor that comes with being a citizen of Ghana as a peaceful nation. And it's something we must jealously guard at all times. And for years, we have enjoyed that. And to have this present ranking clearly showing a, deterioration in our, peace profile is a big worry. And it's a big source of, worry for people like us who work in security every day and night. Our goal as an organization, the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism, is to build adequate resilience against violent extremism and deepen the resilience factors in this country to ensure that we continue to enjoy the peace that we do enjoy. And so this ranking is a big, blot. It's something that we should take seriously and ensure that we trace our steps back to where we should be. Okay. And so I think that as the security agencies and the government takes that, seriously.
What do you think is accounting for this drop?
If you look at our profile, in the last, say, 18, 20 months, we've seen significant, feature of violent situations, or security breaches throughout the country. The reality of chieftaincy and ethnic violence has become more pervasive in areas where they probably weren't. And we're seeing escalation in many situations of violence. The Baku conflict became very, very violent in recent times in the last 2 years. And we have seen the emergence of other forms of conflicts and violence. If you notice, even in the Savannah region, prior to the current situation of Guinea, we've had this, border dispute, land dispute between, along ethnic lines. We've seen the eastern part of northern region tensions along ethnic lines, and further northern part of, the northern region, a lot of tensions along identity or ethnic lines, marginalization, and, discriminatory practices along ethnic lines. If you look at the reality of Galamsey and the violence that accompany Galamsey operations, and I'm sure we might come to that at some point.
Absolutely.
It's a very weaponized environment that involves the use of violence. All of that, coupled with violent political encounters, like the by-elections that we organize, the political rallies that have violent, undertones and violent realities, all of that lead us to this eventuality. And if you look at the Institute for Economics and Peace that, carries out this ranking, there are parameters, indicators, dozens of indicators, that lead to this situation. And we have performed poorly on nearly all of them. And it's something that we should take seriously.
Absolutely. Ref, I was asking, acquiring of weapons, and what parameters you use them for?
All right, so before I touch on acquiring weapons, I would want to let the general public know that owning a weapon is not a solution.
Okay.
Getting a firearm for yourself is not a solution. Now, I'll give you a simple example. Supposing that you've acquired a firearm to protect yourself. The firearm is stashed somewhere, maybe by your bed. An armed robber just comes in upon you unawares with a gun at your head, are you telling me that you can successfully stretch out your hand and pick that firearm?
Maybe if I learn some taekwondo moves or something.
Sure.
I don't know.
The firearm is actually very serious. When a primary school boy comes here right now and points a firearm at us, I'm sure myself
my goodness.
and my best friend here will actually run and left and then leave you behind. We'll forget that we are supposed to protect the lady. That's the power of the firearm. Now, my senior colleague, Mr. Jibasanti, gives this example that supposing that you are driving in the traffic, and then two assailants on a motorbike pulls at your window with a firearm. You have your firearm in your gloves compartment. Are you sure you can pull it enough? So this is just to let us know that having the firearm is not the solution in itself. We need to find other means to be sure that we engender that kind of safety together, and I'm sure we'll come to how we can do that. So that said, the law actually allows citizens to own firearms legally on 3 counts. 1, if you need it for self-protection. If you need it for protection of your properties. And if you want to use it for hunting. These are the 3 counts or reasons. When you show a substantial reason and it's tangible, that the law will consider. And I must also indicate that owning a firearm is not by right, it is a privilege. If you look at section 23 of the Arms and Ammunition Decree, 1972, NRCD 9, it states it is not a right, it's a privilege. So the fact that you think you need that protection, you go to the District Police Service to get one, doesn't mean that you would actually be given. Now, you go through series of checks and examination. First, you must be someone who is matured. So you know that our maturity age here is 18. So we say 18 and above. But we want to know how mature you are to handle a firearm. Because owning a firearm comes with great responsibilities. Yes. You must be a responsible gun owner. How you keep it, how you even use your firearm. Even storing the firearm can be of danger to you and the people in your immediate surrounding. Absolutely. Now, what's your temperament like? If you get annoyed, should we all go under the table and hide? Will all the screens and cameras here just get destroyed? If your temperament isn't that good or it's not sound, you will not be giving the firearm. Also, we need to know your psychology. Are you sound? And there's a process that is done. After this, they will do background checks on you that you don't have criminal records. And don't forget that we also don't want to empower criminals. So we would want to know what you are doing, what kind of job you are doing, to be sure that you can even own that firearm. After all this is done, and the Ghana Police Service, led by the minister, because the minister is when it comes to our internal security, is our foremost person. When they feel okay with it, then now they will take you through the process to acquire it. We have 2 categories. We have the civilian grade, like the pistol, and the pistol too. It is not the revolver. You know the revolver, the one that you can wheel it. Yes, you can own that one. Yes, and you can have the pump actions, what we call the shotguns. You can have the single barrel, double barrels. Those are for hunting? Civilian. Yes, the hunting. Those are civilian grade weapons. The AK-47 is not civilian; it is military grade. The G3s and the M16s are not civilian. So if you have one, it is illicit, and you are falling foul of the law, and the law will come after you. And if anyone comes selling those weapons to you, know that it is illegal. Don't purchase it. Now, pistols also cannot be bought on the market. You can't buy them here. You need the permission of the minister. You write to the Honorable Minister of for the Interior, and then you provide certain details, including your CV, recent passport size picture, and then they will go through all the process. If they are satisfied with what you've provided, and they think for your safety, there is the need to give you that firearm, they will give you a permit to import. And the permit to import that pistol, they will show you the port of entry where it should pass.
Okay.
And when it comes, you
So
can't
they
just
can
go.
track
You can't just go and own it. Now the police will go take custody of it, take you through the process. It is only given to you when it is licensed. So when it is pistol, you go through the minister. When it is the civilian grade, the pump action, then you go through the any district police service station of the Ghana Police Service. And I want to once again sound this warning: do not buy a pistol from the market. It is illegal. Because firearms are not like tomatoes that you can just go to the market without a permit to buy. You need a permit.
Absolutely. I'll come to you on how they do acquire them like tomatoes, because that's what we're talking about. That has become rampant. But Mukhtar, information, the Rev talked about how, helping with volunteering information. How critical has volunteering information been to the work that you do for you to be able to arise at some of these reports and researches that you do?
Volunteering information is an inherent part of research or combating crime. Nearly all the time, when you see security officials or law enforcement announce a successful operation, it's often with the support of some somebody willing to volunteer information through some tip-off or through some lead from the local population or someone else rather than law enforcement. Right. Without the role of volunteers or people who volunteer information, it will be practically impossible to deal with many situations of crime or security issues. And so it's an inherent part of the job that we do. We need the support and role of society, civil society, and everyone in dealing with security matters. And when it comes to the issue of violent extremism, in fact, the single biggest initiative from the state is a national framework for preventing and countering violent extremism. And within it, there's a portion that talks about the whole of society approach to dealing with violent extremism. And the whole of society approach, highlights the importance of having everybody involved. People must volunteer information to law enforcement officers, to local community actors like either the police or the assemblymen or women, the chiefs and National Peace Council or any other actors with the responsibility to deal with security or deal with crime. And so the role of volunteers cannot be overemphasized, and we need to enhance that a lot. And I want to just make a comment about my brother's submission about the processes of arms, acquisition of weapons. Right. Clearly, there are some categories of weapons that should not be in the hands of civilians. And yet, nearly all those you mentioned, the G3s, the AK-47, weapons are in the hands of civilians. And in fact, it is the preferred kind of weapon for many civilians, depending on the context. How do we deal with that? And also the reality that the processes involved in acquisition of weapons. I think the other time I made the point that you do not get a weapon and go and license. You actually get license before you go get the weapon. And yet this information is lost on people. And so we need to be deliberate about educating the public beyond the television or radio programs. How do we make this information more accessible to the people? By displaying it in places where people can see, by engaging, through profiling, categories of people who might be interested in carrying weapons. And I think that the small arms, and he's in a better position to say, need to be properly retooled, resourced, to be able to do a lot of these things. We need to have enough data from the Small Arms and Live Weapons Commission. Data that helps everyone understand and make decisions. First of all, why do people want to acquire weapons? If you speak to the average Ghanaian, they will tell you that we have more weapons in our system in the hands of wrong people than probably we've ever had. And yet we don't know exactly how much or how many. And I think the latest document or research document from the small arms that I know of or have in possession is something over 10 years. 2013, 2014 survey on small arms and live weapons.
On data on
and
who has
people
what.
keep referring to that, over 4 million weapons in the system and all of that. We need to retool the system to respond to these issues. Why we should have a correlation. The tendency to have more weapons, what does it correlate to? Is it the economic profile of the people? Is it a general feeling of anxiety? Is it a certain demography, younger people or working class people or wealthier people or politicians or certain category of leaders who are desiring or acquiring these weapons, and what is the correlation? Why do they do that? So we need all of that to be able to tell, and that can help us combat this issue.
Because you work in the sub-region as well, what does it look like, weapons traveling into Ghana from volatile areas that are neighbors to Ghana?
There's some study that we initiated a couple of years ago. It's about 2 years now, but due to some reason, we have stalled it. And we're looking at the relationship or the link between illicit weapons and violent extremism in West Africa, and we're looking at the northern zones of coastal states. And there are several other supporting studies around this area, and not necessarily on Ghana. I mean, we keep saying that we have porous borders. What does that mean?
Yes.
The porous borders we're not only referring to the reality of the absence of security actors at borders, either legal entry or non-legal entries, spots. But we're also looking at the complicity of officers or systems in the commission of these crimes, either willingly or because they are dysfunctional in their ability to handle this. If you go to many of these borders, including places that are officially policed, you would see that these are places that are ill-tooled. They are not tooled to deal with the issue of proliferation or, smuggling of weapons. If you have a cargo shipment of 300 bags, and underneath that bag, there are bags or cache of weapons, how is he able to access that? And there's no technology or equipment to be able to scan through that shipment to detect this. It's a reality across all the borders.
Is it that we haven't seen the reality of how dire it is for us to have this kind of technology
Whilst we
in
know
place?
how dangerous that reality is, we have been unwilling or not ready to commit in terms of investment in technology that makes it easier for immigration officials and other officials to deal with. So example, you have, say, the Hamili post. When you get to the Hamili post, you have the immigration office properly stationed there. You have customs on the other side. The immigration deals with, people and anything relating to the security. The customs deal with the goods that the people come with. And there's the police who deal with the element of crime also. And you have military somewhere nearby for possible reinforcement. This is a great synergy of how security should function at our borders. And yet, the tools that they need, or the equipment and technology that they need, beyond the man, power does not exist. You cannot fight security, you cannot fight crime or issues like this with just manpower. We need to modernize our approach with technology and surveillance systems, including drones and other forms of invasive technology to ensure that we are properly dealing with security across the borders. There are transhumans that come in and out of this space. And this, actors, they are weaponized because they are facing threats of all kinds. How many do they own? How many do they hold? And how secured are they? All these things are part of the system, a network of people, who get involved in the arms, trade. There are lots of anecdotes of, or narratives of people in the northern part who sell weapons within the, black market to actors from Burkina, and they also buy from actors from Burkina. So it's both ways. But until we have studies establishing the trend and scale, we would only be dabbling in conjectures. And that's why it's important to invest in this space in terms of data and research.
And I'll come back to you on how dire it is with these kind of volatile areas and the kind of internal conflicts that are already rife, and then what the bearing on these neighbors have. But Reverend, tell us, what are the advanced ways that the Small Arms Commission is looking at stemming the tide of acquisition of these weapons in the hands of civilians?
All right, so thank you very much. So I would want to touch on a few of the comments my brother raised. Yes, that is it's true. The last survey was about 10 years ago, because due to lack of funding, we made it if I may say, as a policy to be generating these surveys in every 10 years.
Okay.
Okay. And so as I speak to you, the third survey is actually ready. We are fine-tuning it, and very soon it will be published. But
can you share with us some of the findings?
Some
what
of the
are
findings,
the key ones?
Key ones.
Galamsey is upon us, and how does it look like in that area?
Yes, I would have loved to do that, but you know, we are quasi security apparatus, and I don't have the permission from my boss to actually speak. Maybe on another day when I've gotten that clearance, then I can share. But it is ready. Like it's saying, we need the resources. We wish we would do it much earlier than the 10 years, because these are data and information that would inform and guide the policies. Because as part of our function, we also provide or suggest policy guidelines for the consideration of the Honorable Minister for the Interior. And these ones are informed by this research and analysis that we do. And I can say on authority that there are some policy guidelines that we've suggested to the Honorable Minister, which is considering. And all of these came out or were informed from the survey, the third survey. So in due time, the minister may come out with these policies. Therefore, the immediate and then the long term. But you ask, what are some of the things that we are doing? The very first one is public sensitization. We'll come to the advance. But I always say that public sensitization is a key thing, because if we put in all the systems, use all the resources into protecting our space, get the robust laws, which we need, and then people decide not to be law-abiding, people decide not to be compliant, it makes the work very difficult, because more money will still be pumped into the space to make sure that we make people compliant.
Our laws not biting enough? Is the prosecutorial process too winding and long? Or why won't they abide by the law?
Okay, so you know that we always have miscreants who don't want to go according to the law. Yes, the law, there are gaps in the law. The law has served its time in the past. No one is saying the law is not good. But you see, Ghana has signed on to international and regional treaties that demands best practices. Okay. So if I will use the Small Arms Commission as an example, if you come to the arms space, international best practices shows that we must have the political authority. Who is the ministry? We must have the regulator. And then the enforcer, who is the Ghana Police Service. But as it stands now, we have the political authority and the enforcer. So there is that gap.
For the regulation.
For the regulation. And that is what the role that the National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons is supposed to play. But the mandate that we have, as backed by law, limits us. So in name, the commission is seen to regulate the arms space. But in function, we are limited. And that is why we've proposed the National Arms Bill, which is being considered by the Honorable Minister for the Interior. It's shown a lot of commitment to the process. There's been a series of meetings that he has engineered that and reviews. So he's shown promise and commitment. But like Oliver Twist, we ask for more. And looking at the issues now, we are just pleading with the Honorable Minister that he's doing a good job, and if only he could hasten the process. But prior to that, the Commission, apart from the public sensitization that we cause attitudinal and behavioral change, we also facilitate capacity building and technical assessments. Capacity building, as I speak to you, there's going to be two capacity building for the border security officers. And it's something we do in collaboration with the other security agencies.
Are there plans to acquire technological devices for them to be able to...
Yes, they are. As I speak to you, we've actually deployed one sophisticated weapons detection system at the Tema Harbor or the Tema Port. It's just one, like you're saying. We wish we could get more, because as it is now, if there's any suspicion, then we need to move it. So imagine that something too is coming through the Tema and we move it to Takrady. So we are trying to get donor, we are trying to, a mix of government support and donor funding to actually get more.
Now I was asking, with Galamsey, what kind of weapons do you confiscate or find in the hands of these guys?
These guys, okay. So just as Mukhtar was saying, it is getting sophisticated. And now people looking at the Sahel and what comes in, see, these are not weapons that are actually acquired legally. Okay. So if they acquire legally, then they will go through the process to have it. So that is why you see pictures and videos of sophisticated weapons, because they come in through the porous borders. Now to paint the picture, so you see, the borders are vast. Richards is showing that we have over 30 kilometers square of unmanned areas in West Africa. So anyone who wants to commit crime will not use the approved border where the security operatives are stationed. He would use, or they would use, the unapproved routes. And the interesting thing, what makes it challenging is that you climb down on one, and in the next minute, another one is, because they are either stretch of river or forest. You see, and that is why now we are actually considering, we've spoken to some donor partners to see if we can acquire some drones where we have a command center, and then the drones will man these
unapproved
so that they give signals, and then if there's a need for reinforcement, we actually swoop in there.
Which groups of people have the most sophisticated weapons? Chieftaincy, conflict people, land dispute people, land guards, galamsey operators, election vigilante groups?
All right. So thank you very much. So I say that a weapon, no matter the caliber, in the hands of a wrong person or a wrong individual, is worrying enough. So it is not just about the sophistication, it is about the proliferation. How much we have in the system, and how we as a people, like my brother said earlier, we are being complicit in this. Because I purchased a firearm for self-protection. I go through the processes, I acquire it. And then I'll just hand over the firearm to my brother Mukhtar here, that he should use it to protect my consignment or my property. That is illegal. That is also adding to the illicit cache of weapons in the system. Because the license to a firearm is just like your driver's license. It belongs to you. The license shows clearly your name, why it was licensed to you. Because maybe you said, I need it for hunting. Maybe I need it for self-protection. I need to protect my properties. It is stated there. The number of ammunition given to you is stated there, so that when you come to renew, you show why we were given 10 ammunition, is left with 9 or 8. You need to. So when you give it to someone else, then it is illicit. Now we should also bear in mind that unlike the vehicle, that I can have a vehicle registered in my name, that I can give to my brother to drive, the firearm is licensed to you and you alone. That's why he said you get a license before you acquire the firearm.
So some of these guys, you can get them, and the license, the firearm is licensed, but not for them. Okay.
You see, so those are the things that is causing the illicit proliferation. Because how sure are you that the firearm that you've given to that person for galamsey will not end up in armed robbery? Now, I also want to plead with the chieftaincy institution, because you asked, and the political actors, and any other actor who weaponizes the people. I always say this, that I believe in teaching them how to fish than
feeding them.
Feeding them. Because when you teach them to use firearms, maybe you're a chief. You want to get, or you are aspiring to be a chief. You want to use the people to get you enstooled or enskinned. You give them weapons. They use violent means to bring you to power. Remember that you've shown them another wrong way of solving disputes or conflicts or getting what they want done. So now, when you become the chief and you are putting in measures that they don't like, or you are telling them things to do which they don't like because they want to do the wrong, now they will not look for the proper dialogue and healthy discussions. They will use what you taught them to turn on you. Okay. So we shouldn't be quick to empower them with firearms. We shouldn't think of the now, but we should think of the future. Okay. In any case, if people are killing themselves, you want to rule the people, and you are empowering them to kill themselves, who will you rule?
Who will you rule? Mukhtar,
yes.
I talked about the volatile areas. Which worries your center and yourself as a security analyst the most?
I think that one of the biggest areas for concern for us is the pervasive, unresolved or prolonged chieftaincy and ethnic conflicts in Ghana. How does that relate to the reality of or potential violent extremism? There's a study by the Global Terrorism Index, and we often draw from it, that indicates that 97% of all terrorism fatalities happened in countries or areas that are already in conflict. And so if you have spaces that are already in conflict, over a prolonged period of time, it normalizes the culture of violence and make a lot more people vulnerable to recruitment and to engaging in violence. Throughout many parts, especially the northern and south, the middle belt of Ghana, the northern belt and the middle belt, we have huge situations of unresolved conflicts along ethnic lines, along chieftains' lines, along land disputes and all of that. And the big issue of marginalization along ethnic lines is a big source of worry. And if you look at what happened in the Sahel and continues to happen, what is happening here is that, it mirrors that. And so there's a tendency that it could be exploited in our space. I don't know how much time we have.
We don't have much time,
but I did, so
land on.
Just to add, to land, I think I would like to commend the National Commission for the National Small Arms Commission. Beyond the study that you're looking to do in 10 years, I've seen them put out some ad hoc surveys or reports on, some crime incidents throughout the country. And I think that we need more and more of it, and much more deeper, than it is. The Ammunitions Act that you quoted, like 1972, is a very outdated, act. And in fact, it's one of the main reasons why this new bill is important, because it has provisions that are not reflective of the current reality. Example, and I'm sure you can correct me. You do not have the limit to how many weapons you can have as an individual. It doesn't limit you in terms of how many weapons you can have, which means that you can actually build a weaponry, an armory in your home legally. The idea of accountability and reporting systems. You talked about the political oversight, which is a ministry, and you talk about the enforcer, which is the police, and there has to be a regulator, which is the Small Arms Commission. And yet the regulator is poorly tooled, and also not in charge of accountability. I don't think they report to you the number of weapons in the system, license, or in conditions, because the current system does not, have that in place. And so the Small Arms Commission actually needs a lot of fixing. And this bill is in place to be able to do that. I've been lucky enough to be part of that process that led to the current bill for over almost 2 years. And so we're looking to see how that bill can fix this, weaknesses that we have in the Small Arms, Commission's role in terms of regulator. Until we do that and also actually pump in more money and people at all points, vantage points in the country, we will struggle to deal with arms proliferation in the system. And the last point is, people don't just acquire weapons or guns. There's a correlation between some factors and variables. We need to establish that. Why do people want to have weapons, and for what purpose? All of that should be part of what we should be looking at.
Absolutely, gentlemen. I do wish that we had more time. We'll definitely have to revisit this. It is rife in our communities, in our society. Ghana's security status, arms proliferation, conflict here and there. The gentlemen giving us their thoughts and the analysis on this. Reverend Carl Anyete-Sowa is acting communications head of the National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons. He's talked about the arms bill that they are pushing and all the technology